Hello and welcome to Leo Say's Pantheon, a fortnightly podcast with me, your host, Leo Say's. Today I'm interviewing the infamous and controversial Australian-born media mogul Rupert Murdoch. Murdoch is perhaps best known as the chairman and CEO of News Corp, 21st Century Fox and Fox News. Without further ado, Rupert, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Matt. Cheers.
Rupert, your name and brands have become increasingly influential since the mid-20th century. But as recently as today, you have actually admitted that your businesses are struggling due to the move from tabloid printing press to digital media. How do you foresee the future of your business empire developing in light of this admission?
Right, first of all, that's all rubbish. Right, that's all total rubbish. That's just scaremongering from rival newspapers. Okay? I want to get that right out of the way.
Okay.
Total rubbish.
So what are your views on that then?
Well, it's total rubbish, isn't it? Like, what else really can I say about it? Like, I've lived a long time.
You have?
I'm just approaching 85.
Well, actually, according to your Wikipedia profile, you're 86.
That's not true. That's also scaremongering. 12 I'm older than I am.
So it is a lot of what you're saying is that the interview that you gave earlier, I actually saw it in The Guardian, that said that your businesses were struggling because of digital media. Is that... Sorry? What? Are you eating crisps?
Carry on.
Rupert, I can't interview you when there's crackling like that over the line.
Look, mate, I've done it before. Just carry on. I can hear you loud and clear.
If you don't feel that your businesses are struggling due to digital media, where do you see... Sorry? Did you just burp?
Continue.
What are your views then on the matter?
On what matter?
Are your businesses struggling?
No. No, okay. I've got it in very capable hands. My son and my other son are in charge. Obviously, I don't want to think about the near future, possibly, about my death. But, I'm a very positive man. So I don't really want to delve into those sorts of scenarios. But the companies are not, got great shareholders and very capable hands. So I have no concerns there.
No concerns at all?
No, not at all.
So the stories that came out today about you admitting that your businesses are struggling, they're all fabrication?
No, rubbish. Fake news.
It's fake news? Fake news?
It's fake news.
Okay. Well, actually, on that topic, you've been accused of facilitating a right-wing bias, devising news stories, and conjuring up hatred in the Western world. What is your response to these accusations?
Don't be dead. Look, I know what people want. People want diversity. And people want opportunity.
Sure.
They don't want to be told what to think and what to feel, and how to breathe and how to live their lives. They just want good. They want a good service. They want plenty of choice, and frankly, they don't have to watch it. And they don't have to read it. I don't have to take any of it.
But if you're saying that people want diversity, that they want choice, that they want that kind of freedom, but they don't have to watch your news, is that you admitting that your type of media actually does divide, does create the very things that I've just suggested? Okay, you're eating crisps again. Do you feel you need to say anything else? Add any thoughts to the subject, or...?
I'd have to think about that one.
Okay. Do you feel that your media has a right-wing bias?
Depends on your definition of right-wing.
What's your definition of right-wing?
We live in a post-ideology society.
No, we don't.
Oh, yes, we do. We do, and unfortunately, that's the truth. And it's a bittersweet truth in a way, because...
How is that the truth?
People don't follow ideologies anymore, not to the bone. It doesn't work like that.
So what do they follow instead? News Corp?
They follow good ideas. They like diversity and choice. And And I stand by that.
But the media...
To be honest with you, mate, I believe that. To be honest with you, I believe that for over 50 years.
If you believe in diversity, how do you back up what your media channels actually portray, which is actually the antithesis of diversity?
Well, I'd actually have to fucking watch the channel to know what it's actually saying.
So you don't have a clue what your media channels are saying?
No. Especially not Fox News, yeah.
Does that not concern you?
No. It's, like I say, it's incapable hands, so... Hey, it's out of the question. It's out of my...
It's not out of your hands, though,
Rupert. It's a little bit out of my jurisdiction.
It's not out of your jurisdiction at all. I mean, you are the CEO and chairman.
Yeah, I'm pushing 90.
Look, can you stop eating crisps, please?
This is the most humble day of my life.
Today?
Today. So, let's be clear. I want a good interview. I want honest questions, and I want to give you honest answers. Okay?
And how are you perceiving my questions to be dishonest?
There's a wallaby!
Sorry?
Fucking wallaby in the room!
There's a wallaby in the room?
Get out! Fucking Jesus Christ! Fucking about it. Jeez! Oh, fuck! Come on! What you done?
Are you actually in Australia at the moment then, Rupert?
What's that, mate?
Are you actually in Australia at the moment?
Hey, no.
Where?
Manhattan City, mate. Manhattan City.
You're in Manhattan and a wallaby jumped into your office.
Yeah, we keep him down in the basement, don't we?
Why do you keep a wallaby in the basement? And presumably your office is quite high up in the building. How did the wallaby get from the basement to your office?
Secret elevator.
You've got a secret elevator for a wallaby?
Well, for myself, but, you know. I like to have access to all the floors in the building.
Okay. Rupert, you were born in Melbourne, Australia, back in...
There was a fucking wallaby situation. I don't want to fucking see it. Get it out of the way. Take it back down to where it's on the fucking bed.
Are you still with us, Rupert?
1 second. I don't fucking care. Get out. Get out my sight. No, get out my sight. Get out my sight. My apologies. Apologies, man.
Rupert, you were born in Melbourne, Australia, back in 1931. Can you describe what you were like as a child?
Well, Australians have a unique reputation for being a little bit, how shall I put this, speaking their minds. The rest of the world wouldn't take too kindly to what Australians would like to say and what to think.
Can you give us an example?
That goes against my moral compass entirely. I think you should be entitled to say what you like and when you like, without fear of being chastised or subject to scrutiny. Okay?
And is that what drew you?
So as a child, I was quite... I could have been considered quite vulgar.
Okay.
I will admit, I was a bit of a ladies' man.
Okay.
But there's no news there. I've been married 3 times.
4 times, actually. You recently got remarried, didn't you?
Would you consider the new one a fucking marriage though? I mean, I said we were in love. I mean, Jerry loves me to bits. So.
But you don't sound too convinced by the whole thing.
It was very abrupt, wasn't it? It's an interesting one. It's about the sex. Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
So the relationship's founded on sex?
No, you're saying the relationship's founded on sex. I said there's a lot to do with sex. The thing about Jerry is, she's of course been with the obvious, I can't remember his fucking name, Mick Jagger.
Yeah,
Mick.
She was.
Married?
I'm not sure whether she was married to Mick Jagger, actually. I assume so.
Yeah, I think so too. I should probably check that out. I'll have to get a restraining order against him.
Is Jagger a problem in your relationship? You sound quite insecure about Mick Jagger.
Insecure about Mick Jagger? What's he accomplished in his life?
Well, quite a lot.
Look, going round saying drop dead daddy-o is not going to bloody make you an iconic figure of society.
He was one of the founding members of the Rolling Stones. It's a little bit more than having a catchphrase.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to talk about me and Jerry. It's private. And I will be honest, I've had a brandy or two. So I don't want to divulge into something, well, I might say something that I will regret.
Okay.
Now, moving on to the next fucking question.
Well, you never actually answered the original question, which was, what were you like as a child?
I told you, I was a ladies' man.
As a child?
I was a little bit crass, and I was a little bit rude. In many ways, I was like my father. He was a very ambitious man.
You seem to be describing yourself what would have been in your teen years, but what were you like as a child?
I told you, I was a ladies' man. What for when I popped out, so when I pop back in my grave again.
Okay.
You're not convinced, are you?
Well, I'm thinking about you said that you had strong views, and Australians are known to be outspoken, and that you very much, well, the whole field that you go into, which is media, which was actually your dad's field as well, wasn't it?
My dad died in the 50s. That was a long time ago. But I still think his legacy lives on. I don't miss him.
You don't miss your dad?
No. He was an arsehole.
That's quite strong feelings you've got there.
Yeah, well. It is what it is, ain't it?
It seems that you've got some very strong feelings about lots of things. And it's important for you to be very outspoken about these things.
My whole legacy has been built around, choose my words wisely, my whole legacy has been built around the conversation. Now, I don't like reverse tactics. Don't put them back on me, because it ain't going to work. I'm a master of this.
But if you're a master, then how could you earlier have said that your values are about diversity and freedom, but you do not have an interest nor know what the hell's going on in your news corporation and Fox News?
Well, I'm such a master, I shouldn't really need to know. That's for the shareholders to decide, and the presenters. That's not my area.
But it's not. Diversity is not at the centre of their narrative.
There's no such thing as fact anymore. It's all about perception. And if your perception is that they're not broadcasting diversity, then that's your problem. But others may see it that way.
So your agenda is actually to encourage different perceptions?
Using the word agenda, like it's a cynical thing.
But it appears, Murdoch, that you do have some sort of agenda. I mean, you are sweeping up a lot of different influential media companies, presumably to have more influence and more power. And this has been the accusation about your politics, about your agenda, is that it's about power and influence in society, and it does have a knock-on impact. But for you to sit here and say that it's out of your jurisdiction, that seems irresponsible.
No, not at all. Look,
how is it not irresponsible?
You get into the broadcasting business and in the newspaper industry, and you realise, well, of course you have opinions. We all have opinions, and you have the right to put them out there. But it just goes back to what I said earlier. People don't have to read it. People don't have to take it in. They don't have to watch it. They don't have to read it, or whatever medium they choose to get their news from. It's entirely up to them. But, and that goes again to what I was saying earlier about diversity. And I know people want diversity. They want opportunity, and they want change.
How are those values reflected in your media, though?
Arguably, you could ask the question how they're reflected in any media.
But I'm asking about your media.
It doesn't matter. It's a redundant question. It's a redundant question.
It's not a redundant question, Murdoch. You are a very influential man with a lot of power, and sat behind a lot of the big media corporations in the West. How do your values...
there and humour me.
Sorry?
It's very nice of you to sit there and humour me, but I really would like to move on to the next question. I'm pressed for time. I've got to go and meet Jerry in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Well, actually, what's interesting is the turn towards right-wing politics, which seems very apparent from the type of media that you put out. Because you were studying, when you were studying at Worcester College in Oxford in England, you were a strong supporter of the Labour Party. And you stood as secretary of the Labour Club at that time. In fact, you have stated in the past that your intentions with your media was to expose the corruption in power structures to ensure that the public were better informed about making political and social decisions. Exactly. So there is a responsibility behind your position.
No, you're talking about then. Then was then, and now is now.
So what's different now?
Well, I'm older. I've been through 4 marriages. Well, 3 unless you count the divorce that me and Jerry are about to have.
So you're actually about to have a divorce? I mean, that's not common knowledge at all.
No! You're twisting my words.
No, you said you were about to have a divorce.
It's all about perception.
It's not about perception, Rupert.
No such thing as fact anymore. It's all about perception. And if you want to believe that, that's entirely up to you.
Is this the narrative that you want to be pushing out? That it's all about perception? Because you remain immune. You remain immune from criticism at that point. You can't be held accountable for your words because you can just shove it away as perception. You say that we're post-fact society, but the reality is, Rupert, that when you make a statement and that's recorded, that is fact.
It's textbook politics. Not that I'm in politics.
No, well, former Australian Prime Minister stated in recent years that you arguably had more impact on the wider world than any other living Australian. That presumably includes him as the Prime Minister of Australia at the time. Do you agree with this statement?
It's very nice of him to, again, humour me. Let's look at the big picture. I may have been marginally successful in Australia, but that's irrelevant. Because Australia is never going to be successful.
Well, do you identify as an Australian?
I'm not being cruel, it's just a fact.
So what you're suggesting is that Australia doesn't facilitate a platform for you to get more and more power?
I don't believe in power.
You don't believe in power?
I believe in the revolution.
What revolution?
Well, revolution for the kangaroos to come and kick your fucking head in.
You're going to get kangaroos to come and kick my head in?
Not me, just them. It's instincts. They kick on their back legs off the ground, they're going to kick your fucking head in.
What's that got to do with anything that we're talking about?
What do you mean what's it got to do with anything?
What is your position on things, Murdoch? Where are you coming from? You deny your power, you deny your influence, you deny that you've even got any knowledge of what your media companies actually put out to the world. What exactly are your values?
How do you spell values?
V-A-L-U-E, plural with an S.
Here's 2 points. It's all about perception. Is value really spelled like that? And 2, you as an individual are doing exactly what I say, which is what you are implying that I'm doing to the rest of the Western world.
So by spelling out value, I'm doing what you say?
In a manner of speaking, yeah. I mean, who else told you how to spell out value? I can spell value out for you now. It's S-H-I-T-H-E-A-D.
Shithead.
S-H-I-T-H-E-A-D.
Shithead.
And that's what you are, son.
You're calling me a shithead?
That's right.
Okay. Can I ask why?
You're quite the provocateur. And I don't like provocateurs.
Okay.
I like decent, honest questions, so I can provide decent, honest answers.
What about my questions
But
have
if that's
been...
said, shall we move on?
Well, what about my questions have...
You're playing the game, son.
What game am I playing?
I've been in the game for 50 years. Over 50 years.
Tell me about the game.
I think you know quite well what the game is.
But for the listeners, can you enlighten them to what the game is?
Manipulate world powers. Perception of false realities. Fake news. What's real? Perceptions.
Do you deny reality? Is that the game?
What is reality?
So you're a philosopher?
No, it's very nice for you to say, but no, I'm not a philosopher. No.
Well, these are the questions.
I'm a businessman. Plain and simple. Very successful one at that.
You're a very successful businessman and a very influential one in a lot of positions of power, which you seem to deny.
Positions of power. Like, what is it with you people? You fucking loony left obsessed with power. I know your type, son. You're coming here, waltzing in with your fucking education, and you're free this and you're free that, and you're bloody Negroes.
So you do have right-wing views. You were denying that you had right-wing views. You talk about diversity, and yet you've just made a racist comment and slurs on the left.
You can't put that word on the internet.
No, because you wouldn't want that getting out, would you?
You don't really want that on your channel, do you?
Why?
Leo says Negro. I can see the headline at the Sun now. No one knows who you are, son, but they fucking will know it, don't you?
So is that a threat? Are you threatening me?
No, it's not a threat. It's just, look, it's business.
So you do have influence over what goes out on the headline. You do have influence, and you do know what goes out.
I can tell you some of my influences. I'm quite a big fan of.
No. I'll ask you what your influences are. You're an incredibly evasive man.
We've got Mick Jagger.
You're influenced by Mick Jagger. You're influenced by your wife's ex-husband, who you want to put a restraining order out. Who previously...
The list is endless, really. But he sits firmly at the top.
Is that why you married his ex-wife?
No. Who are your influences, Leo?
I'm not the one answering the questions, Murdoch.
Oh, I'll like to ask you a question.
Okay.
Who are your influences?
Why do you want to know?
Just making conversation.
We're not having a conversation, Rupert. We're doing an interview.
What's the fucking difference?
But it seems... Well, actually, there's quite a significant difference. It seems to me that you're trying to take the power of this conversation by directing the questions back on me.
Like I told you, mate, I don't believe in power. I believe in bringing down the establishment.
Okay.
And that's not an agenda, it's just an opinion. I wouldn't put that in my newspapers.
But
it's not there.
For a man in a significant position of power who has very strong views on taking down the establishment,
Fine.
how do you determine?
Sacked.
Sorry?
I've been sacked. I got sacked this morning.
You've been sacked?
Been sacked. By my own fucking company. Jesus.
You do realise this is going on the internet?
No, it's not.
It is.
We'll have to do something about your channel then, won't we? Not that you've got that many fucking subscribers, let's be honest, but I can make sure that it's taken down. Wallaby.
Well, if you've been sacked, what's next? You've been sacked. It sounds like you're on the verge of a divorce. What is next for Rupert Murdoch?
Never said I was having a divorce, but I might take a note out of President Bush's book and take up painting.
Take a what?
I might take up painting.
Take up painting?
Yeah, I might take up painting. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
What would you like to paint?
Painter.
Have you ever painted previously?
No.
What would you like to paint?
Well, I'd start by painting a beautiful flower. I would move on to some more personal things.
What like?
Perhaps I'll try and paint how I perceive the world.
And how do you perceive the world?
It's this black hole that's destined to kill itself. There's no one out there to save it. So you may as well contribute to its death.
And is that what you've been doing?
Yes. That is what I've been doing. From the very fucking start, my friend. From the very fucking start.
Okay, well, I've run out of questions, and I'd like to leave this interview there because it feels like it's come to a natural end.
Well, wait a minute. What about fake news? What about perceptions of reality? It's all mumbo jumbo.
Elaborate, go into a bit more detail.
Oh, I've already told you my position on this.
Well, it sounds like you want me to stay with you. What is it that you're asking for, Rupert?
Well, humour me. Ask me another question. Anything you like.
What's your favourite colour?
Black.
And does that relate to the black hole that you'd like to paint?
Well, I suppose so.
There's something very dark about your perception of the world.
That's not true. There's nothing dark about it.
Well, you almost seem frightened.
What's the perception of the world?
You almost seem frightened of it.
No.
The idea that the world is determined to destroy itself.
Well, that's just science, isn't it? That's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing Jerry can do about that. There's nothing Kenny, who dealt with the wallaby, can do about that. There's nothing that fucking wallaby can do about that.
So there's a lot of anxiety.
I think we're all a bit worried.
Is that why you need so much power and control, perhaps?
Spell power. Go on, spell power.
No, I'm not going to spell power for you.
Spell power now. Oh, 1 second. Jerry's calling me. Hello, lad, you alright? Yeah, just doing my interview. I'm doing it with a fucking queer from the internet. Well, don't bother with that now. I can tell you what else you like, you dearly kill. Okay. Perhaps I'll see you later. Yeah, I always like to see that. Okay, goodbye.
Well, Rupert, it's been fascinating talking to you, although I don't believe we've got many direct answers to the questions. I hope that you find some solace eventually from the suffering that you appear to be living in.
That's not true. I'm not suffering. I'm a very happily married man.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
And thank you for listening. And don't forget to buy this week's issue of The Sun.